What do you think of Fangio back as DC if fired? Ooh, is he going to get fired? Fangio? You know I love Fangio.
I think firing him would be, first of all, an absolute mistake by John Elway. You got to
Yeah,
let your head coaches ride it out. You got to stick through it. They've had probably as bad a situation as the Niners in terms of just injuries and everything. They feel like the 2018 Niners to me. I don't know. I'm not convinced at all with Drew Lock. I like the talent. I'm not sure if I will ultimately like the player, the decision-making process, all of that. But they have so much talent where if they can get something serviceable at quarterback, maybe they're the team that gets Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan. I think that Fangio can make it work. He's still one of the best defensive game planners out there. I don't think he would come back to the 49ers and ultimately take that DC job. I don't know if he would, but it would be awesome. And Denver, please don't fire him. That would be a big mistake.
He's in year 2. Von Miller got hurt. I mean, he went 7-9 in his first year with no quarterback. I don't think that would be the right move. If he doesn't make the playoffs next year, that's a different story. But I don't think Vic Fangio will be available. And it's a good question. Who would replace Robert Saleh if he leaves? I'm not necessarily certain it'll be Dan Quinn. What has Dan Quinn done in the last 10 years that would give him? I mean, maybe he would get the next Robert Saleh. I mean, look what Sean McVay just did. They got rid of a big name defensive coordinator and brought in a guy that no one's heard of, but had pedigree. He'd been with Vic Fangio, and now Brandon Staley's doing a hell of a job. Maybe Saleh knows a guy who knows a guy who's 37.
For me, it's 2 guys.
Okay.
So if they're going to go in-house, I think DeMeco Ryans is probably the name that's been touted. So that could be where they go. But for me, it's Kyle Shanahan's buddy. It's the guy I thought would be the original defensive coordinator of the 2017 49ers, the interim head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and that's Raheem Morris. I think Raheem Morris was the reason Dan Quinn even got to survive one more year. He saved his job last year by switching from receivers coach and taking the defensive coordinator responsibility and changing that defense. He's made that Atlanta team, look way more competent than Dan Quinn ever did without Kyle Shanahan this year.
They just destroyed the Raiders yesterday.
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And I think he would be I don't know if he would be a 1-for-1 replacement by Saleh, but I think he could really approximate that value.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Kyle and Raheem Morris go back. They're friends. If there's an opening, if Morris wants it, I'm sure he'd be the first choice. Because remember, as smart as Kyle Shanahan was to identify Robert Saleh and give him the job, he was the third choice. I mean, he wanted Vic Fangio, and then he wanted Gus Bradley, and then he settled for Gus Bradley's heir apparent, which just happened to be maybe the best call. So it worked out, and that's life. But I mean, he probably would want Raheem Morris first.
Right.
He might have plan B's and C's.
The story was that he was interviewing Saleh for the linebackers coach, right? And then when Bradley went, he was like, well, Saleh's interview was fantastic, so I'm going to hire him as the DC.
I think what Saleh said was, Kyle, please just give me an interview and be open-minded, please. And Kyle said, okay. And it was so good that he was in the running. I think Saleh said, look, just give me an interview.